What is up, guys? This is Rise, and welcome to a very special video where, if you haven't heard the news, I was able to win the 2022 Milwaukee Pokemon Go Regional Tournament. What this means for me is I get a travel award to go to London to compete in the World Championships of Pokemon Go PvP. This was in my home city of Milwaukee. Technically, I grew up about 20 minutes west of Milwaukee. And I've spent a lot of my life in this area. Went to college in the city of Milwaukee, about 3 blocks away from where this tournament was held at the Wisconsin Center. So it was just super special for me to win this on my home turf, as people were calling it, and to play to the best of my abilities, and all the preparation that I put in and all of that paying off for a pretty cool achievement. So if you want to check out my full recap where I'm interacting live with like 500 of you guys, check out my Twitch. The link's in the description. I did a full 4.5 hour extended in-depth recap where I went over my thought process, my preparation, all sorts of random things, fun things that happened over the weekend. So I'll go more in depth in that if you want to check that out. Here, I'll keep it a little bit more to the battles and then chime in on other things here and there. So I'll make it a little bit quicker instead of 4.5 hours. But yeah, if you want to check out the full in-depth recap, feel free to go watch my VOD on twitch.tv. So all that said, we are going to get into this stream. And I was able to make it to day 2, right? I went through the top 8. There's Necra. She's an incredible shoutcaster. I was able to, let's see if I go to Challenge, Milwaukee Regional. Easy enough, going on the fly. From the group stages, I was in Group C. And basically, how did I get to day 2? So I played against Shadow Inn, who was a very nice gal. And I was able to win that matchup 2-0. I played Felici, who's an incredible trainer from Chicago, has beaten me in the past. I beat him 2-0. I played against Semi. The last time I played Semi before this tournament, he swept me in the finals of a tournament, 3-0. This time I was able to beat him 2-0 in just the most insanely close games. I was able to beat Cryptomorphism 2-0, and then Auburn actually handed me my first loss of the tournament in game 1. This is in the winners finals of Group C. And I was able to respond and win the next 2 games. So that is how that played out. And then that's how I got to day 2. So I was in the winners groups, and I was going to have to play Prunov in my first round of day number 2. So if I lose, I go to the losers bracket. I'm still alive. However, I knew Prunov was going to be one of my biggest threats here, because after day 1, everybody's teams competing in the top 8 were posted online, and Prunov's team, I felt like, was pretty neutral against mine. Some people told me they felt like my team had a huge disadvantage. Some people said they felt like I had a huge advantage. But basically, we look at each other's teams. Can I zoom in a little bit more for y'all? It's like the opposite. When I zoom in, it zooms out. What's up with that? Anyway, I've got Azumarill, A9, Sableye, Trevenant, G-Fisk, Obstagoon. The thought process behind my team is Obstagoon is a core breaker for a lot of people, right? It beats Licky, it beats Sableye, it beats G-Fisk, it beats Trevenant, it beats Walrein if there was a Walrein there. But it's really weak to Medicham and to Azu. But I really gang up on Medicham with my team. I've got Sableye, Trevenant, Charm 9, Azu. So I've got 4 things that beat Medicham. I know technically Medicham can beat Azu in certain scenarios, but I still consider Azu against Medicham a positive matchup for Azu. So I've got 4 things that beat Medicham, and then Obstagoon, which is a core breaker for a lot of people. And against Prunov's team, my strategy here for game 1 is I don't expect him to run Medicham. I'm calling that he's not running Medicham, and I wanted to potentially catch the Azu or the Ninetales in the lead. And if I catch the Azu and I just stay in here, I know that he's probably bringing the Lickitung for my Azu, because my Azu's very safe against his team. I figure he kind of has to bring the Licky. And as long as Azu avoids Licky, my other two in the back can handle the Licky. So as soon as I got this lead, I was confident that I was in a good spot.
To upset him, but incredible run from Pranav on day 1, and now we have the very potentially long mirror matchup with the Zoomros here. Let's see how both players play it out.
This is a best 2 out of 3.
We can see the 2 Pokemon on
and we got Caleb and Butters shoutcasting in the background.
Players kind of want to stay in this matchup or not give up too much health remaining on the Zoomer on the opposing side.
Yeah, we're completely mirrored so far. Both the Zoomeros threw at the exact same time on charge move priority, but we do see these backlines, and the backline is going to matter a ton. Alignment is
so
gonna
one
matter,
thing
we
we'll
see
notice
the
throughout this video is the right phone seems to have like the sneak and the deny advantage. I'm on the right side, Pranav's on the left. The right phone seems to sneak and deny like it's nobody's business. So I've already denied and snuck one time. So my Azu is ahead, and I know from us CMP tying on the first play rough that my Azu should win CMP here again. So I go 1 over and I CMP.
So it looks like Rise is going to potentially force a shield here. Let's see if Pranav decides to let go. Decides to let the play rough go. So now
he lets it go, and I'm gonna hard swap my G-Fist because I'm calling no Medi, and even if there was a Medi, I would kind of have to swap my G-Fist to lure it out. And now that he's staying in, I'm pretty confident that there's a Ninetales in the back, and he doesn't want to swap in his Ninetales when he's down energy. And also, he's probably reading that I have Obstagoon in the back, and he knows he's not going to swap out because then my Obstagoon will get aligned with his Lickitung. So I think we're both reading each other's lines here, and we both kind of know I'm in a favorable spot.
Yeah, and I think this is a really smart play by Pranav right here, recognizing that Rise Vacation wouldn't come in with his Glaring Sunfist and give up switch advantage willingly unless he had a better check to this.
And now Ninetales comes in, and I'm able to get to a Rock Slide here, and this is huge to draw a shield. And once my Obstagoon gets up a shield, it should be able to close out here. I do hard swap my Azu just because I know it's not really in Fire Spin down range. It would have to take a lot of bubble damage to do that, so I swap it in just to make him throw a Weather Ball. Azu goes down. I'm gonna wait up my switch timer in case I can like make a catch later on.
This might be a tough spot for Pranav because that Obstagoon pretty bulky too. It's not
gonna come in with Obstagoon. I know he's at the overheat, so I'm just gonna respect it. Also, a Weather Ball would do more than a Body Slam, right? So I might as well shield Weather Balls here. Just throwing with proper timing, right, after one counter.
It's so much pressure. I mean, look how close Obstagoon gets to you when it's throwing that counter. It's just pressuring you like crazy. And Alolan Ninetales is getting quite low on
the shield.
It's going to be taking so much pressure. It needs to get to 2 Weather Balls here. It's almost
well, the Ninetales has to get to an overheat here to KO.
He might go for a catch here, but it's got to be incredibly well timed. And let's see what he does.
And then he combo plays me with the Body Slam, but his Ninetales doesn't have a Weather Ball loaded, so I'm pretty confident his Ninetales is 1 short. So I'm just gonna stay in and throw my Night Slash. A lose con there would be me losing track of counts and trying to catch on my G-Fisk unnecessarily, and then him farming down my G-Fisk. So we take game number 1, 1-0. And as Butters just said in the background, that was Pranav's first game loss of the entire tournament. He had swept everybody until that point. So, by the way, Pranav streams. Shout out to him. If you want to check out his Twitch stream, like, you guys would really like him. He's an extremely entertaining and funny guy, and also an incredibly high-level battler. And there's not too many combinations, right? There's not too many combinations of like people that are super entertaining and also are extremely good at the game, and he's one of them. So after that first game, right, I ran a team that was very weak to Medicham in the back. So I was trying to predict a Medicham in the back this game. I was trying to adjust. So I go with G-Fisk, Azu, Trevenant. And I swap my Azu into the Azu. And the reason for this is because I wanted to lure out the Lickitung, so my Trevenant didn't see it. But unfortunately, Pranav did not bring the Lickitung. was definitely expecting Lickitung every game. So this swap by me is actually a horrific play, a horrendous play, because now my Trevenant is going to have nowhere to go because he's staying in, and my Azu would have been so much better in the back. And I also know that his Azu is Ice Beam Play Rough, so if I had just stayed in with my G-Fisk, I would have been in a much better spot. If I just stay in with G-Fisk, I can soft lose that matchup, and I would have been in a very solid position. But because I swapped my Azu, I did him a huge favor. I brought in my Pokemon that gives his back line super tough problems, so he's perfectly fine just staying in here, knowing that he can just take this Azu really low, and then his Ninetales and his Sableye are going to be very safe. I go for the Play Rough. Ice Beam wouldn't quite KO from here. Sableye comes in. I get off my Play Rough. He sneaks. Here I should have swapped my G-Fisk immediately. Should have swapped my G-Fisk immediately right here, but I give him a few extra Shadow Claws, which is going to end up being kind of costly. So a mistake there from me. I do get denied, but it kind of makes sense, right? When you swap in, it should be like one turn, so not sure that was really a deny, but Mud Shot's going through. CMP tie. I can't shield this, but I do. Not a wise shield. I'm thinking like it could be the K9 in back, right? So I'm thinking like I need to preserve my G-Fisk, but to be honest, like I think I'm still better off letting that go, because then maybe Trevenant can like bait and get Shadow Ball. But once I commit that shield, like the K9 can just sweep. Oh, and then he farms me down. He's getting ready to swap out so he doesn't get farmed down. I swap in Trevenant, and I could make a catch here, right? But at this point, I know this game is over. If I catch on the Azu, like, it doesn't matter. Because he'd only be 3 fire spins away, and there's no way I could bait and then still get to a Shadow Ball, so. G to the G, Pranav outplayed me there, and the game really fell apart when I made that swap in the beginning. Oh, I can go Theater Mode. It's a little bit bigger. So we're going to take our time thinking here. All tied up 1-1. The winner moves on to the winner semis. The loser falls into the loser semis. And it's really fun. The night after this tournament, I went back and watched the stream and all the people's reactions, and it's so cool seeing all the people. Judges asking us if we're ready to lock in. We give the thumbs up, we're ready to lock in. And I get the worst possible lead, and he's all excited. A9 into K9. Not what I want to see. And this was actually... So I was trying to predict Azu in the lead. And that way I could just soft lose and then farm with my own Azu. That was kind of the strategy. But it's K9. And this was a spur-of-the-moment decision, right? Normally you want to go into your soft counter, but I go straight into my hard counter. And the reason for this was spur of the moment because I knew my Azu is safer against his team than my G-Fisk is. Because even like Sableye can make it tough for G-Fisk. And if I swap into a K9, it's going to have like a slight head start. And it's going to be uncomfortable for G-Fisk. He gets the sneak on the bubble. No! Add! Alright, so we're back. And after he... So, watching Pranav and his recap on his stream, He said he panicked a little bit, didn't know exactly how to respond to my Azu safe swap. So he just did a little chip and dip with the weather ball to try and secure this matchup and keep switch advantage. But I'm aware there is a desync in the switch clock, so I'm keeping that in mind. And I know I don't want to go down shields. I don't want to go down shields when there's a Ninetales in the back. That's hard for my backline. So what I'm actually going to do is swap in my Ninetales because of the switch clock desync. And he got a refund. It doesn't really matter because he wanted to throw the play rough anyway. So it's the same result, essentially. But I get off some charms here. He gets into his K9. I wasn't planning on shielding here, but I do get a sneak there. And I know I can get off my Psy Shock, so I do end up deciding to commit a shield here. And at this point, I'm very confident there's a Sableye in the back, right? Because it's not Lickitung. If I had swapping my Azu, if he had Lickitung, he would have swapped it in. So I'm pretty confident it's Sableye at this point. And I feel like my Azu, I know my Azu has energy. If I can bubble down and get off 2 moves, I'm pretty confident I've got a good shot. I know he'd have to shield a play rough on his Sableye. So I actually shield the weather ball to maintain some health here. I could have even done a few more bubbles here because his Azu was pretty dry. Oh, actually it wasn't that dry. It had like 3 bubbles, so could have done 1 bubble there at least. I take it out. This right here is a bit of a misplay. This is just nerves. I go for an Ice Beam. There's no reason to bait here. I'm only going to get to 1 move. But at this point, I know he's going to shield. I think he's going to shield. And I actually stay in for a little longer. Remember earlier I said staying in was a mistake because I gave it more farm. Here, staying in was the right call in my opinion because it did some more bubble damage and it puts him closer to Earthquake range. And I just had to stay in long enough to get him close to Earthquake range. It might not quite KO, but it's going to put him extremely low. And he's also going to be forced to throw his 3rd foul play. Otherwise, he'll get mud shot down. So Earthquake coming through. Bang. He's forced to throw the foul play. The foul play takes me out and 1 bubble KOs. And at that point I just said, come on. Because I was able to overcome a really tough lead. To Pranav's credit, like I also had a really safe Pokemon in Azu. That's going to be difficult for him to handle as a safe swap. But I was pretty proud of that game. I thought that one was pretty well played. And that was huge. And the reason that was extra huge was because when I prepped for day 2 against people's teams, I knew I had a really positive matchup against the people I would play if I was to beat Pranav. If I was to beat Pranav, I would play the winner of Bird Power and Nino. And I felt like I had really strong matchups against Bird Power and Nino. So we're going to get to those matches here. And the story with Bird Power, she is a, I believe, 16-year-old girl. She was in the seniors division, which is like born after 2006 or 7 or something. And there were only like a handful of them. So she won that division. She got a spot in London. And they're like, to give her something to do, they let her compete in the Masters division as well. And she goes on and she wins Group D. And she's gotten all the way here to the top 8, now the top 4. And I had a very strong team matchup against here, in my opinion. My A9 is really strong. It beats Walrein, it beats Medi, it beats Sableye. It's pretty good against Trev. The mirror match, it only loses to G-Fisk. So my A9 is super strong against her team. My Obstagoon is also pretty strong. but I don't feel like I need to bring it per se. My Azu is very strong. It's literally only afraid of Trevenant, and then it has positive or neutral matchups. So I felt like I had a pretty strong team, and I know she kind of has to bring the A9. She kind of has to bring her A9 because of my Obstagoon, but I wasn't expecting her to bring the Medi so much. So we have a really positive matchup here. She is really good at baiting. Successfully baits me here. This is kind of unnecessary for me. I throw the Weather Ball. She would have at most gotten to an Ice Punch there if she lives that Charm, so this isn't great energy management by me. In this tournament, I think I played really well for the most part, but I did like make some... I did let the nerves get to me at points, like with my energy management. It was not always on point.
It's gotten more than one Pokemon's worth of health that he's painted, and he has the Glare and Stunfisk here that he can kind of...
She does shield the Weather Ball, which is probably a bit of a mistake from her. She could tank that, and if she had saved an extra shield for Sableye, I think she would have been in a more dangerous position. But now it's Azu versus Sableye, even shields. And I've got an XL Azu. I know I can tank a return, but Bird Power is able to successfully bait me again.
Able to get the Protect Shield from Rise to occasion. Rise is now shieldless here. I wonder if he is going to go for a bait of his own just to get the play rough off here.
I get off the play rough here. She's kind of forced to shield in my opinion.
See that the play rough comes in and it goes shielded. I think this Sableye is going to be able to reach for this next return, and it comes out right before the play rough.
Sableye is going to be able to land a return here, but Azu should be able to tank it and get off the play rough, so we're in a pretty good spot at this point.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Azumarill, a very bulky Pokemon here, is able to hit the...
Get off the play rough. This should KO from this range. Play rough's a pretty hard-hitting move. Super effective. And then we simply are just going to swap the G-Fist to avoid getting farmed down and get to our Rock Slide to take out the A9. Bird Power almost at 2 Weather Balls there, but 2 Weather Balls would not have KO'd the G-Fisk, and just a tough team comp for her there. Fast forward a little bit. Game number 2, Azu into Walrein, and what I was thinking here was Azu is very positive and neutral against most of her team. I figure maybe I can just win switch with Azu, and then my G-Fisk A9 covers her team very well, so I can just play for switch, win switch, win game. However, Bird Power plays out this lead very well and ends up putting me in a difficult spot. I go for a play rough here.
And we are about to reach the first kind of decision inflection point here. I think
and Bird Power correctly shields the play rough.
Bird Power deciding to invest in early Protect Shield so that the Walrein
does allow me to get off a second play rough here.
Able to reach a second play rough in the same amount of time here. So
and no, she can live this, so she's gonna let it go.
But she is at an Earthquake right now. Up to her to make the call on what
I was kind of hoping she would bait, but I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just take shield advantage at this point. And I didn't want to get caught shielding an Icicle Spear here, because that would be very hard to come back from if I had shielded an Icicle Spear there. So I'm going for the Charm down. However, this chip damage from this Spear is actually going to be really bad for me.
And this is heavily pivotal for Bird Power right here. So
because now, after a little bit of chip damage, fast moves don't really come into play for A9 versus A9, or charge moves don't come into play, so she can just simply fast move me down. I swap out, and it's the Medi again, and I'm like, uh-oh. Not sure I can win this. So I go for the EQ. She gets the sneak. And a really good shield, shielding the EQ. Sometimes people are very reluctant to go down 2 shields, but that was the right thing to shield in my opinion, knowing I probably wasn't going to bait a fully healthy Medicham.
successful in the Charm Mirror match in the back. The question
I
is,
do
the
get to an
second comes
Earthquake
out,
here.
it's not going
However,
to
I
knock out
don't
this
know
Meta
if I'm
Champ,
going to be able to live
but
5
Galarian
counters
Stunfisk
and
able
get
to
to
retain
the
one
Rock
fight
Slide.
afterwards.
I think it's going to get quite close, but fortunately for Metacham, it does have that fighting subtyping here. So
Counter,
looks like
counter,
barely
counter.
able to reach the Rock Slide is going to come out with 2 charge moves right here. So Rise has to decide whether to use the.
And then she baits me again here. This is savage. But like, I think even without the bait, she had me here.
Enough chip damage for her Alola Nightose to take over.
And I really like the way that she played that out. She did 1 counter and then threw her charge.
I had to respect the Psychic, right? She gets the sneak on the Charm, and Psyshock will not KO A9, so she is going to take this game.
I think she's going to be able to reach a Psyshock. Actually,
And Bird Power takes down Rise in game number 2.
Kind of a weak move overall.
So we're all tied up at 1, but this is a best of 5.
Shielded came from Arian's lineup
Because in the series,
G advance on their into a lead of
Okay, so game number 3 coming up.
and it's going to be very pivotal what the leads are. We do see the lead Alola Knight.
All right, so we're back A9 versus A9. I am actually pleased to see this because I decided to bring my Sableye in back this game because she keeps bringing the Medi. She keeps bringing the Medi, so I'm predicting she's going to keep bringing A9 Medi. And I know my A9 is always going to win CMP because I have a very high attack A9. I won't reveal. Actually, no, I probably have it in a video somewhere, so you guys could probably figure out. And then she, I think, makes a slight mistake here. Probably should have just committed to the full Powder Snow down. The energy is more valuable. The worst thing that would happen there is I reach a Weather Ball, which wouldn't do much to Wall Rain. So I think a small mistake from Bird Power there. Because now it's basically 1.5 Pokemon versus 2 Pokemon, and I have Switch Advantage. And my Charm 9 was able to put this into play rough range. And I know Walrein's going to need 2 EQs to take me out. I'm not calling a bait here. I'm just kind of expecting the EQ, but I know I can tank it. Going to go for a play rough here, which is going to draw the shield.
Not surprising, as I don't think she wants the Metacham to really line up against this Azumarill, but she also doesn't want it to line up against that Sableye.
Both of us building up to our charge moves. And now here, she actually decides to bait me. And this is not necessarily me calling the bait, but this is me predicting Medicham in back. And I feel like even if she takes me out with an Earthquake, my Sableye up a shield can clean up this game. But fortunately for me, she actually double baits. Well, this one is just throwing the energy knowing that I get to a move. So she is kind of forced to give it up at this point. She's probably just hoping that it's the G-Fisk in back again. If it's the G-Fisk in back, she still has a chance, but no, it's the Sableye. And that's going to be a good game. Sableye, very hard counter, as we all know, for Medicham. Not much Medicham can do here. Going to resist the counter damage and going to deal super effective Shadow Claw damage. So a very comfortable matchup for Sableye. And this game will put me up 2-1 in the winners semis. 1 game away from the grand finals and 1 game away from clinching a spot in London. And I would later find out that because Bird Power came up from the seniors division, she's technically just kind of playing for fun because she's already going to London. So her spot for Masters would actually carry down. So actually, I had already clinched a spot in London prior to this match, but I didn't know. Someone told me that was possible, but the way they phrased it was more like that might happen. So in my mind, I was still playing to get to London in this match, even though I actually had already secured a spot in London. And once again, London will be the host site for the World Championships in August. My phone crashed again, so I asked the judge to reset it, please. And here we go, game 4. And we get a very positive lead. Sableye into Trevenant. Bird Power still committing to the Medicham A9 core. And I think she was very concerned with my Obstagoon. I think she was very concerned with my Obstagoon, and I never brought it because I didn't feel like I needed to. I felt like my A9 could do what I wanted my Obstagoon to do for the most part in terms of like beating the Sableye, beating the Walrein, beating the Trevenant, and my A9 only had 1 counter versus the Obstagoon had 2 counters in the Medi and the A9. So when she kept bringing it, I'm like, okay, I don't need to bring my Goon. A small play I made there that was kind of nice was not CMP tying. I went for the sneak because I would have CMP tied on the Shadow Ball. I'm going to throw the return here. And at this point, like, sometimes you don't want to get farmed down, but I'm perfectly fine just getting farmed down. And I can get G-Fisk in here on A9. And this is a good matchup for Azu. As I said, if the Medi does get the Psychic debuff, it can flip this. But as long as there's no Psychic debuff, I should be able to get to 2 Play Roughs here. And that's all I need to do. I just need to land a Play Rough. It won't KO an XL Medi, but it will put it low enough where my G-Fisk can probably clean this game up for me. Poor timing by me. Actually, I let in a free counter, which is not ideal. Gonna get off a Play Rough here. As we said, this will put the Medi quite low. Trying to get out of here into my G-Fisk. Come on, G-Fisk. Medi's still got a little bit of health, so it's going to dish out some nice counter damage for Bird Power. But she actually saves the energy. I'm just going to get rid of this A9. I just don't want to take this fast move damage. So I'm not going to bother, like, over farming. I just want to get rid of this thing. And then she has double Ice Punch, but double Ice Punch shouldn't quite KO from this range. We probably need double Ice Punch plus maybe like 4 counters. She got 1 counter there, plus the Ice Punch. Ice Punch comes through, and then 1 Mud Shot KOs, and just like that, Rise going to the Grand Finals, where I'll play the winner of Bird Power and Dune Bug. And here I just said a few words to Bird Power. I was like, hey, how old are you again? And she's like, I'm 16. And I'm like, that is so impressive that you made it this far. Amazing run, and good luck in the losers finals. I hope I see you in the finals, something like that. And Bird Power would end up having a controversial set against Dune Bug, where there was a bit of a glitch and the judging call wasn't the best. So I'm sure some of you watching this video have some thoughts about it. I have some thoughts too, but we're not going to talk about that. Dune Bug did end up coming out as the winner in that matchup despite some controversy. So I am now playing Dune Bug in the finals, the grand finals. I have not lost all tournament. So basically, Dune Bug has to beat me twice to become the champion. I can afford 1 match loss. Dune had lost to Prunov earlier in the tournament. So Dune already has a loss. If I beat him, I win. He has to beat me twice to win. Twice in terms of like 2 best of 5s. And what you'll see is Dune Bug's team is extremely tough for mine. So he's got Swampert, Shadow Walrus, Trev, Goon, Shadow Nido, Reggie. Shadow Nido was the Pokemon I was second most worried about coming into this tournament. If you look at my team, it beats Azu hard, it beats A9 hard, it beats Goon fairly hard, it beats Trev if it's willing to expend a shield. And then even my counters for it, Sableye and G-Fist, can be bait dependent. Nido can flip those matchups in certain scenarios. So Nido's very tough. Goon is also quite tough for my team because it beats 3 pretty comfortably, 1 neutral matchup, and then I have 2 answers for it. However, the things that beat Goon lose to Nido. So if Dunebug just runs Goon Nido, there's not a whole lot I can do because they cover my entire team. Goon Nido just covers my entire team, and it's very tough for me. So it's a terrible lead. I led my Trevenant into Obstagoon. I ran ABA weak to Obstagoon. Of course, I lead against the Obstagoon. Dune actually shields the Earthquake here because he knows that I've got a Trevenant and he knows his Obstagoon is valuable. So I'm going to wait out my timer, and he's got double answers to the Ninetales. Gosh, just completely hard countered. And I'm forced to take a Poison Fang here, right? Because if I shield, like, the Obstagoon's just going to avoid it anyway. So I combo here with the Shadow Ball. I don't expect him to shield, knowing that he has an Obstagoon still. And I know this will take out Nido. However, even though we land the Shadow Ball, he still has all this energy and all this health on Goon. So this is not good. There's no way Trev's going to be able to, like, flip this matchup. So we're in a pretty bad situation here. I'll honestly just fast forward a little bit. Obstagoon gonna get off a Night Slash. Has back-to-back, so it's gonna land 1. I'm forced to swap into my A9. It's met by the Reggie. And then the Reggie can just Focus Blast my Trevenant. So a very dominant Game 1 victory for Dunebug. And he takes a 1-0 lead for me in the Grand Finals. Okay, we fast forward, and game number 2, I adjust. I put G-Fisk in the lead. I swap my Goon because Goon is a decent save swap against his team. It's really only afraid of Shadow Nidoqueen, but however, it's met by the Shadow Nidoqueen as the counter swap, so this is not great for me. Doom makes a big call here and actually goes for the Earth Power. So a big time decision for him. That was actually really nice. If I had shielded that, maybe I have a chance in this game. Taking back Switch. But to be honest, down a shield, I think his Wall Rain and Swampert win anyway. So I actually don't think shielding there would have been would have made much of a difference. I know this is just a Poison Fang, so there's no need for me to shield this. I went over 100 energy, so a small mistake from me there. Going for the EQ. Dune correctly shields it. Dune always very precise with his timing. Throws on CMP here. If my G-Fisk wasn't debuffed, it might be able to live this. But however, it is 1 stage debuffed. I don't think I would have lived that Hydro Cannon because of that. So I committed the shield to get shields down here. Dune's going to be patient here. He's not just going to throw right away. So probably a pretty poor catch attempt by me. Not realistically going to work there. Sludge Wave coming through. Dune going to get off the Hydra before I get to the Play Rough. He probably knows that my Play Rough doesn't KO, but Just wants to get off this chip damage because he's still got a fully healthy Wall Rain and a Nido that has a little bit of energy, I think. Wall Rain comes in. I get off my play rough, but this game is over. And this is going to take out my G-Fisk, and Dunebug is going to take a 2-0 lead here in the Grand Finals. And at this point, I'm just trying to take my time, figure out what I can do to try and stop this team, man. This team is so tough for me. Sableye into Reggie, this is a negative matchup for Sableye. However, it can put in work. If you're willing to go down to Shield, you can flip this matchup. Zap Cannon coming through here. I am going to commit a shield because if you look at the line I'm running with Sableye, Goon, A9, if there's a Nidoqueen in back, I need to preserve my Sableye. This is a questionable play from me that I built up so much. Once I gave the Swampert this much of a head start, I'm in a really bad spot, to be honest. I kind of need to... I don't know what I can actually even do at this point, right? Like, the Swampert's going to burn my last shield here. Yeah, we're in a terrible situation now because that Reggie with the shield advantage is just going to destroy us. And our Obstagoon, or our Sableye really has nowhere to go anymore without a shield to protect it. I do get my Night Slash off here, which does force a shield. And sorry, I'm responding to a message. Tough spot right here. I lost track of energy at this point. I think I was a little frustrated. I tried to catch a Sludge Wave, but he wasn't even at the Sludge Wave, so very poor catch attempt. Obstagoon comes in. I'll land the return. But this game is over. He's got the Reggie in back against my A9. Nothing I can realistically do at this point. Well played by Dune. And Dunebug is going to take a 3-0 sweep to reset the bracket. What that means, as I mentioned earlier, is I was undefeated up until this point. So I had one loss to give since it's a double elimination tournament. Dune had already lost. So this win from him against me will give me my first loss and will now reset the bracket. So winner take all in one last best of 5. And at this point, if you're wondering what I was saying, I'm literally just like, complaining. I'm like, yeah, man, sorry. I was telling the judges, like, sorry guys, like I couldn't even make the finals competitive. Like, we might as well just give him the win because this team is too tough for me and I can't sneak or deny, and he sneaks and denies every time. So, you know, maybe I also asked if we could switch sides because I felt like I was getting snuck and denied every time. But they were like, no, we're going to stay on the same sides. So that's what was going through my head. But then I settled down a little bit. I'm like, you know what, Rise? You've gotten this far, right? Let's not call it quits. Let's not get discouraged and just give up. Like, yeah, he's got a tough team, but you've beaten a Nidoqueen team already in this tournament before. So, might as well take your time. Don't rush yourself. Give it your best shot. And we'll see what we can do. All right? And I had a notebook that I was just jotting down different lines, and I was like looking at his 6. I wrote down his 6, my 6, and then I would just write lines, and I would like think like, okay, like what would I do in each situation? And we finally get a lead. We pull a lead A9 into War, and I'm like, okay, I like this matchup. And this is also where preparation helps you execute, because I had played out this lead matchup multiple times when I was practicing with people before this tournament, and I know that even if he baits me here, I can just throw my Psyshock and he's not going to get to the EQ. So he'll be forced to shield here if he wants to get off his EQ, and he actually lets it go. And knowing this, I swap in my Sable. I'm running double Ghost. I want to lure out the Goon. I get refunded there potentially, but we don't say anything about that. Inconsistencies. As Home Slice Henry said, it balances out for all the sneaks and denies that dude was getting. Night Slash coming through here. At this point, I'm perfectly willing to just let my Sableye go. This is a situation I like talk to coaching students about, where I'm not going to settle for the foul play. I'm going to commit to the return and force him to expend energy. I'm not going to throw a foul play and allow him to build up more energy. Going to go in straight away with the Ninetales, as Butters said, and going to try and charm this thing down before it can take me out. Probably only need like 3 charms to take it out here. 1, 2. Dune trying to get out of there. Doesn't get out of there. We have a Weather Ball loaded, but we're going to save it for later. And I'm going to try and close this out with the Trevenant. Back in action. Not going to bother baiting here. I feel like baiting would be a potential lose con for me, so I'm going to go straight Shadow Ball at this point. Trevenant does outpace Reggie, gets to Shadow Balls before Reggie gets to its moves. 14 turns versus 15 and 16 turns. I am going to commit my shield here. And once again, I'm just going to commit to the Shadow Ball. At this point, honestly, probably could have gone for Seed Bomb. But going to go for the Shadow Ball to guarantee the KO or get the shield. I also have that Weather Ball stored, so I know even if this Reggie takes me out, I still have the Weather Ball, and Reggie can't double up on moves. So Reggie is going to take me out here. But my Ninetales still has a little bit of health. It's not going to get locked on down. I do 1 charm just for a little chip, and I get off the Weather Ball, and after losing 3 in a row, we're able to gain a little bit of confidence. We get a game under our belt, and I'm thinking, okay, let's just take this one game at a time, man. Let's just take this one game at a time. And I really took my time with my notes. I was not rushed in the slightest. Normally, I'd say I'm like on the quicker side of what I choose to battle, but I was in absolutely no rush here. I was taking my time. We lock in. And another terrible lead. G-Fisk into Swampert. I'm going to swap the Goon. And he makes an incredible read here and actually knows I'm trying to lure out the Nido and swaps his own Goon. This is a pretty bold play. It also speaks to how confident he was in the sneak and deny advantage. Because if I sneak and deny, right, like I can flip this matchup. And I do commit a shield in order to get off my move here. And he actually survives with a fraction of health. Man, that's brutal. All because of 1 extra sneak. But at least I did get both shields off him. And at this point, I'm like, I don't want to come in with my A9 and reveal what it is yet. But at the same time, like, Coming in with G-Fisk, I'm going to have to take the super effective cross chop. So, two bad options. In comes Swampert. And even though I'm in a bad spot here, this gave me a little bit of confidence because I felt like I was starting to get a read on when Dune was throwing his moves. I was starting to get a feel on like what he was thinking in these battles. He gets a big farm down with the Nito. I have to throw this Earthquake to avoid him getting off an Earth Power, so that is that. And now we just have to try and get off an Earthquake before 2 Hydros. Can we do it? Can we do it? No! We get denied! We get denied as per usual. And if you want to watch Home Slice Henry's reaction to this, it was so hilarious. He's like, come on, Rise, sneak! Sneak, Rise, sneak! No! He gets effed by denial. And I don't think Earthquake would have quite KO'd, but it would have been close. And unfortunately, Dune able to respond right away with another win. So we're tied up at 1. First to 3. Wins the whole thing. And it's off to the next one. Goon versus Nito. And this is a terrible lead because not only am I weak to it in the lead, I'm also weak to it in the back. I do get a denial there. Very nice. And I get the boost. And this is a little bit of reverse psychology. Because I got the boost, I'm thinking he thinks I'm going to shield, so I'm actually not going to shield. I take the Fang. I get off another Night Slash. He gets the sneak this time. I am at least going to be able to take shield advantage here. And very smart play by Dune, recognizing that it's probably the A9 in back. He actually saves the energy on his Nito. I think my win con at this point would have been Dune Earth powering me letting it go, and then me saving 2 shields for A9. I might have had a chance, because I'm not sure if Swampert can get to 3 Hydros against A9. So yeah, if Swampert can't get to 3 Hydros against A9, I think I could have won if it played out like that. But he gets a big denial. Big denial. Plus, he had a small head start before I swapped. This denial is so brutal, man. Not only does it allow him to get to this move here, but it allows him to get to another Hydro. Another Hydro, man. Have to shield the Earth Power, and then there's an Obstagoon in back, and this game's over. So I'm not even going to bother throwing my energy. This is bad, bro. This is bad. So Dunebug has now beaten us 5 out of 6 games. 3-0, and then 2-1. He's beaten us 5 out of 6 times. We are 1 loss away from losing. He's 1 win away from winning the Grand Finals. And at this point, I think when I was talking on stream, people said there's this thing called a flow experience. And at this point in time, it's hard to explain, but it seemed like everything just kind of like whited out. Like, I know there's thousands of people watching, there's hundreds of people watching in person in the crowd, but it felt like nothing else existed. It was just me, and it was a game of Pokemon Go PvP. It was just me and the phone. Me and the phone. in the Pokemon, I guess. Not really. More so just me in the phone game. Everything just kind of went quiet. And we catch a lead. We catch a great lead. And we're going to counter the Nido with our Sableye. We are down a couple of jabs. I go straight for the foul play. Dune goes for a bait here. And he is able to successfully bait me. I am able to successfully shield an Earth Power here. I throw one before he gets to Poison Fang. And he's going to take shield advantage and let the Nidoqueen go. I try and CMP tie him on the return, but he doesn't fall for it, and he keeps on countering, which is very smart by Dune. He overfarms a little bit and then just wants to take me out. And now here, I make a nice read. I'm thinking, okay, it's probably either Trev or Reggie in the back. He's not going to stay in against my Azu. I come straight in with my Obstagoon. And Caleb liked it.
I think Rise brought the Obscune into the Obscune, expecting Junebug to bring in the Trevenant right on spot.
In the chat, if you guys could see it like that play too.
Maybe knowing Junebug's habits of swapping instantly.
So I make a nice little read there. That way I'm not behind as much on energy.
Here comes the seed bomb into this Obstagoon. It should be able to take it no problem.
With a great feel for the timing here, throws on CMP, which doesn't allow me to sneak, and this will allow him to win CMP again at number 5. CMP ties me here, but this is okay because the Trev is low. I don't think it can live like more than 4 bubbles, so it's probably only going to get to a seed bomb. My Az is still very healthy. And this is just nerves. This is just nerves. There's no reason for me to keep building here. I just have to avoid him putting me into charge move range on the Trev, like into seed bomb. So I should just be getting rid of this Obstagoon. He boosts, and I'm like, okay, that's enough, Rise. Just get rid of this thing. Seed bomb does maybe like 40% to Azu. Shadow Ball does a little bit more. So Dune committing to the Shadow Ball, knowing a seed bomb wouldn't KO. And we get rid of it. And we have a game 5, as Caleb says. Oh my goodness gracious. Maybe I'll do like actual shoutcasting for game 5. And like I said, man, this was just what apparently is called a flow experience, where just everything kind of went away in the moment. It was just me and the phone. It was just me and the game. Maybe partially because these headphones are noise canceling, white noise. So I end up developing a strategy of Obstagoon double Ghost for this final game. If I see the Obstagoon in the lead, I just play it out. If I see Nido, I go Sableye to lure out the Obstagoon. And then I'm trying to predict Swampert in the back because he had just been destroying me with the Swampert. I hadn't been bringing Trev very much. So I'm trying to hard read Swampert in the back with Goon and Nido as the other two. I didn't know which one he would lead. So yeah, so that's kind of the strategy here for the decisive game. 1 game to take the entire thing. We lead the Obstagoon into Nidoqueen. Tough lead. Gonna have to get out of here. Tough matchup for Goon. Straight into Sableye. Sableye is met by Obstagoon. Obstagoon going to triple resist these Shadow Claws. I do get a sneak, though. If I'm shoutcasting, am I talking about myself in the first person? Night Slash is going to land. I will be able to get to a return here. making sure I keep track of Obstagoon's energy. Obstagoon does get a sneak, so it does have a Night Slash already. Dune is willing to let the return go, knowing that he can live it. And throws one turn before me. At this point, I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe I will commit a shield to try and get a shield off of him. So I'm going to throw on what would be CMP Dune. Just never going to fall for that. Never going to throw on the CMP tie. But I do get a shield off him. And I decide, no, I don't want to shield this too, because Nidoqueen, if he gets my last shield, could just sweep me anyway. So gonna have to come in Goon here, get the counter down, and I'm just trying to hard predict Swampert and back here. And I know this Nido is still a problem. I do start getting denies this game, which is very nice. I do start getting denies. I know I kind of have to save my shield for Trev. And once again, Dune making a brilliant call, going for the Earth Power, which he knows will knock out. Gets rid of my Goon. It's all on Trev. He also did the one extra. He did the one extra jab before, which is going to allow him to get this first. I know I have to take this because, believe it or not, a Hydro Cannon does more than a Poison Fang. In comes the Swampert. I throw one before he gets to a Hydro. I take it out. And now I have to commit to fast moves. No point in throwing. And it's a tie. It is a simultaneous KO in the decisive Game 5 of the Grand Finals. Winner take all. And there are a few things I potentially could have done to win the game. One would have been undercharge the Seed Bomb and farm down. But I felt like that was too risky, man. In the moment, I don't want to risk throwing the game with too much of an undercharge and then he beats me. I also could have potentially thrown the Seed Bomb right away. If I throw the Seed Bomb instantly when the Swampert comes in, I take a few less mud shots and maybe I live that last poison jab. So that was a winnable game that I thought about after this tournament was over. But in the moment, I was happy with that. I was happy with a tie because I had a pretty tough lead. I had Obstagoon into Nido, and I still pulled out a tie. And I felt like I was gaining some confidence. I was gaining some momentum. I had now, after losing 5 out of 6, won 1, and then tied 1. And I just need to get one more win, man. It all comes down to this. It all comes down to this. One game to decide the whole thing. The Milwaukee Regionals, what I've been prepping for 2 weeks every night. And look at this! Azumarill into Obstagoon. He swaps Walrein. We swap Goon. And oh my god, guys, the feeling in this moment is like, all right, just keep your composure. This is good. This is good. Keep your composure. Play the game. Play the game. Shadow Walrein is very scary. I figured in a high-pressure moment like this, it's too risky for him to go straight for the EQ. So I decide to let this go. I decide to let it go. I have to shield this now. This would KO me. And because the sneak and deny advantage had been so severe, a lot of people think I made a huge mistake here allowing him to throw the spear before me. And I do partially agree with y'all. I think this was possibly a big mistake. But if you look at how much health my Goon has here, I wasn't sure. Because I got a sneak, right? I got a sneak. If I had thrown my cross chop and he had snuck, that's 2 Powder Snows difference right there. And he potentially Powder Snows down and takes switch. So that's why I didn't throw my cross chop, is I was afraid of the sneak and then the shield and the deny where he would potentially take back switch or we would simultaneously KO. So that's why I decided not to throw that cross chop there. That's what I was thinking, in case you thought that was like a really horrible play. And maybe it was, but I didn't want to risk losing switch advantage. I get off my cross chop. He gets another sneak, so I'm only going to get one cross chop here. That's pretty bad for me. The most underrated play of the tournament. The most underrated play of the tournament that potentially makes the difference in the game here. He's swapping his Nido. For me, it's too risky to bring in my Sableye here, even though I know he's probably instant swapping. If I bring in my Sableye and he waits a second and sees I have Sableye, I lose. So it's too risky in my opinion. So what I do here is I tap and then I tap. I do not spam tapping the screen. I tap my Azu. I look at the corner. I can't afford to go down too much energy. Tap Azu, tap Sableye. My Azu did not take any poison jabs. My Azu did not take any poison jabs there. If I had started tapping my screen, my Azu would have 2 poison jabs of damage on it. Keep that in mind. I get off my foul play here. Foul play with Chunk. He's forced to shield. He needs to take out my Sableye. Dune, whatever you want to say about him, is one of the best battlers in the world. Always on point with his counting. Farms the absolute maximum he can to make sure he does as much damage so this Earth Power can take me out, and he comes out with residual energy. Takes out my Sableye. He's one jab off the Fang. You see me slap myself here because I'm so angry. Because if he has one poison jab extra of energy, I have lost this game. My Azu is 3 bubbles away. It's 9 turns away. The Nidoqueen just threw a Fang. If he has one extra jab, he gets there first, but he's dry. He's dry, and I wasn't sure if he was dry or not. I thought he might have had one. I get to the Ice Beam. Now, how much energy does the Goon have? I'm 15 turns away. If he's only 7 counters from double, he wins. But no, he's 9 counters off. He's 9 counters off, so I just need to hope there's no boost. If there's a boost, I lose. Night Slash, debuffed Azu. Azu takes it on the chin. No boost. 1 bubble away. And
Ice Beam, is this Ice Beam enough? You see Rise already getting all of his feet, getting excited. This is Rise to the occasion in the grand finals in a rematch of Game 5. Rise to the occasion, rises to the occasion, and takes the grand championship here.
The Milwaukee native takes the Milwaukee Regional Championship. It wins against his teammate 3-2 after the bracket reset, getting swept to get the bracket reset and taking it 3-2 in the game number 6 of this series. Azumarill finishes it off, and he is the grand champion.
What incredible set here. We had a bracket reset, 3-0 from Doombug.
so yeah, man, after going down 3 games to nothing against Dune, able to come back in the second set, going down 1-2 as well. So I had lost 5 out of 6 games. I was able to keep my composure, win a game, tie a game after a bad lead, and then win the final game. A lot of it came down to like who won lead pretty much in the finals, and I was just able to scrape together enough games where I caught like the Goon on the Azu twice. So yeah, man, just an incredible weekend, an incredible day. Met so many people. If you want to watch an even more in-depth recap that lasted like over 3 times as long as this on my Twitch stream, feel free to go there. If you tune into the end of the stream, I just got really emotional and really grateful for all the people that helped me. I'm a little bit removed from it now, so I'm not going to cry for you this time. But if you want to check that out on my Twitch stream, you can feel free to check out the end of it when I was just thanking everybody that helped me get here. And it's like I felt like I was able to manifest something, right? It was something I really wanted. I put my mind to it. I practiced so much, so hard, and it came into fruition. And it was like, if you work hard and you put your mind to something, you can accomplish anything. And that's kind of how I felt for this. It was something that I really put my other priorities off and focused on this. and said, you know what, win or lose, I'm going to give it my all. And if I lose, I know that I did what I could. I gave it my best shot, and I gave it my best shot, and we wound up on top. So I thank you guys so much for supporting me, and I'm looking forward to going to London in August and giving it my best shot at the World Championships. And it's going to be the same mentality, right? I figured out a formula here. I prepared as much as I could. I came in with confidence, and I was able to end up winning the whole tournament. So I'm just going to follow the same formula, and I know that if I'm able to win, that'll be amazing. And if I get beat by one of the 64 best battlers in the world, all flying out to London, I knew I at least gave it my best effort and did what I could. So crazy to think I only started playing this game a little over 2 years ago, and how we've been able to really come full circle and grow at this point, and how the game is becoming like an esport with these major events. If any of you guys are in Columbus, Ohio, I'll see you this weekend at the NAICs. I won't be participating since I was able to win in Milwaukee, but I will be going to spectate and to vlog. No vlog for Milwaukee, by the way. I did go 0 dark 30 mode. I deleted all my social media. I didn't bother with vlogging, and I just wanted to focus on my my competition, and it paid off. Thank you guys so much. If you enjoyed the content, feel free to like and subscribe. Comment down below. All comments are appreciated. If you have any questions about the tournament that I didn't answer in this video, feel free to ask them in the comments. I'll do my best to respond to all of you, or as many as possible. And all that said, thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.